Welcome to LeaderCast, episode 242. You're listening to LeaderCast, Transforming Missions podcast with Tim Bias and Sarah Thomas, providing you with resources to navigate the challenges and opportunities of courageous, Christ-centered leaders.
Last week, we offered 7 reasons people don't listen to you. This week, we're diving into 5 characteristics of a good listener.
So as a reminder, you can find show notes for this episode at transformingmission.org/242. This is the second in a series on the essential leadership skill of listening. Why are we talking about listening? It seems there's been a continual decline in people's ability, capacity, and desire to listen to one another. We hope this series will help you tend to your own listening. So Tim, will you get us started with a story today?
It was a church that developed a community meal for the neighborhood. The people of the church, most of who lived in other communities, wanted to help feed the people who seemed to be hungry and who lived close by to the church building. It turned out to be pretty successful because over time, the guests who came on Thursday evenings to the community meal actually started to attend some Sunday morning worship. The people and the members of the church began to feel a little uncomfortable. They'd moved out of the community because the community had changed. And so the one thing that had not changed was their church. So eventually, one of the leaders took the pastor aside and said, "Do these people have to be with us on Sunday mornings? Can't we provide a special worship service just for them, on Thursday evening when they're here to eat?" The pastor responded, "Well, I think everyone should have a chance to meet Jesus face to face." And the leader replied, "Of course, everyone should have a chance to meet Jesus. I just think they would have a greater opportunity to meet Jesus on Thursday evenings. I think they should have the same opportunity to meet Jesus as we do." And the pastor responded, "Well, I'm really not talking about them. I'm talking about you."
And that's what I call a gotcha. I simply wonder if that leader heard the pastor. So if we believe listening helps us to connect with one another and connect our local churches with our communities, in short, the characteristics that we're going to walk through today will help us develop relationships with others while demonstrating the simple but forgotten art of listening. So as you consider what it means to be a good listener, here are 5 characteristics of good listeners. A good listener is a person of, what's the first one, Tim?
Is a person of compassion. Now, when we say compassion, the word literally means to suffer with or to empathize. So to listen with compassion means to relate to persons as individuals and not of types of persons that we've classified or labeled. To listen with compassion means to relate to the community with an open heart and mind, not telling the community what it needs, but listening to what the community says it needs, and what are their hopes and dreams and desires. Listening with compassion.
Characteristic number 2. A good listener is a person of concentration. This means focusing attention, eyes as well as ears, on the person, concentrating on what is being said and not on what we want to say next. I think we might have mentioned that last week as well. This means focusing on the community, learning the assets as well as the hopes and dreams of the people that are around you in such a way that the church can interact with the community and not interject into the community.
And characteristic number 3 is a good listener is a person of self-control. Now, this involves patience. When you pray to God, "Give me patience and give it to me now." Self-control. We learn when we speak and when not to speak. So as leaders, We don't need to have an answer to every question. As a church, we don't need to be experts on all the issues. We don't need to feel threatened when church and culture collide. But we do need compassion to be with the community in uncertain times. We need that self-control.
Okay, let me hit the pause button before we move on to characteristic number 4, because the idea of not having an answer is something that I have witnessed many leaders having a hard time with. They think that as a leader, they have to have an answer. But I've witnessed you, Tim, not know the answer to a question in a meeting. So can you offer us an example of when you don't have an answer, how you respond instead of, making something up or rambling about nothing? How do you respond?
Well, it's a simple answer because I'm a simple person. I usually respond, well, I don't know the answer to that question, or I can't answer that. And if it's something I know that I can find an answer to, I'll say, I'll be happy to get the answer and get back in touch with you. If I have to do some research on it, I usually say, I have to research that a little bit, but I'll get back to you. I think what you're looking for, Sarah, is just the answer. I really don't know, but we'll learn this together.
Yeah, thank you. We don't need to make it more complicated than it needs to be. Just say, I don't know, period. And if you can get the answer, tell them you'll get the answer and get back to it. Okay, let's move on to characteristic number 4. A good listener is a person of comprehension. The responsibility of the listener is not to agree or to get others to agree with him or her. As the listener, it's your responsibility to seek to understand what's going on and what is being said. The same can be said in the life of the church. It's the responsibility of the church to understand the dynamics of the community and to engage in the life of the community, connecting the assets and needs and developing relationships of trust and care.
And characteristic number 5, a good listener is a person of commitment. It's built on love and care. And as Jesus followers, you and I do what love demands. And if we're genuinely concerned for others, then we make ourselves available. And as a church, if we genuinely care about the community, then we make a commitment to listen, to interact, and to respond with appropriate action.
So we've given you 5 characteristics of good listener. Let me just walk through those again. The first was compassion. The second was concentration. The third was self-control. The fourth was comprehension. And the fifth was commitment. So Tim, as we come to the end of this episode, what words of wisdom would you offer to our listeners?
Well, Sarah, it seems that every time I come to this time, I say the same thing over and over, maybe in a different way. But listening is a major component of relationship. And for me, the part of me that I, even if I want to change, I can't. It's the part of me that I become more who I'm supposed to be when I interact with the people God puts into my life. And what I'm learning more and more is the people who God puts into my life are people to whom I have to listen. I've learned that a lot of people who are angry just need somebody to listen to them. I've learned that a lot of people who feel either dismissed or unworthy or unimportant are looking for someone just to listen to who they are and what they're about. I know we've had our time today in our podcast, but I remember one person who I encountered in a parking lot begging for money. His name was David. And I wanted to give David money, but he said, I don't want money. And I said, well, then how can I help you? And he says, I just need somebody to listen to me. And I didn't listen because I said, well, if you don't want money, do you need something to eat? And he said, no, I don't really need anything to eat. I just need somebody to sit down and listen to me. And I said, well, get in the car and I'll take you to get you something to eat. Long story short, he didn't eat anything, even though I took him to a restaurant and he ordered something. He left it at the table. All he wanted was somebody to listen to him. And what he wanted to say was, I'm going to be arrested and I'm going to be put in jail for a while. I just needed somebody to know, to hear what I had to say, and to know that they'd be here to listen to me when I got back. It took me a long time just to understand that there are people who God puts in our path who just need someone to listen. And these 5 characteristics, I think, Sarah, are really a key to helping us be more who God created us to be.
That is a good word. Thank you, Tim. You can find the 5 characteristics that we walk through on the show notes page at transformingmission.org/podcast. You're looking for episode 242. And I'll say it again. Tim illustrated it in his story at the end and at the beginning. This series is a great example of why we've said for over a year, who you are is how you lead. Bye for now.